Unfortunately, last week we made too many errors against what turns out to be a pretty reasonably talented Washington State team. This week, the Badgers have got to bounce back. We're going to talk about both those things on this week's episode of On Wisconsin, baby.
That motion W, that jump around. Don't care who's coming into that town. Results gonna be the same. My Badger's gonna win that game. And anybody tell you anything different, crazy. Bucky got this on Wisconsin, baby.
Bam. Hey, welcome to On Wisconsin, baby. We are the podcast about the Wisconsin Badgers. I'm your host, Randy Lee. I love the Badgers. I've loved them since I was a little tiny guy and have got a lot of other stories to tell. But today we want to talk about last week's game with Washington State. I don't want to talk about it a lot, but I've got to address a little bit, talk a little bit about that, and we're going to talk about New Mexico State coming up this Saturday at Camp Randall. Let's take a look at the notes that I made on Washington State real quick. Like I said in the intro, we just made too many self-inflicted wounds, just too many. Over 100 yards and penalties. Offensive line had a rough day. Some backside holding, some just bad mistakes, and a couple very unfortunate giveaways, not takeaways, giveaways. Although there was one beautiful takeaway that we saw one of our guys do. Ah, man, I hate it when I can't remember names, but everybody that knows me knows I got no memory. Hey, I was going to mention, if you don't have one of these yet, I've got the Wisconsin Badger roster. We've got it broken down by number, by name, and by position. If you'd like one, send me an email to badgerinbama at gmail.com, badgerinbama at gmail.com, and I'll send you a PDF of the roster in any way you want, or all three ways, free of charge, because you're listening to the podcast. Love to help you out, and we can all get on the same page. Speaking of which, I got to get over here and get on the right page so I can do the right thing. Anyway, that's a handy thing to have, no doubt. Chimere Dike made a fantastic play. I want to point that out. I love that he came down simultaneously with the ball with the defender, and then he worked it out and they gave it to him. I think that was one of the cooler plays of the day. Unfortunately, it wasn't enough to put us over the top, as the Badgers gave up that first win, that first loss of the season, hopefully the only loss of the season. I didn't think it would come. I don't think any of us thought it would come against Washington State, but Washington State came in. They played as well as I think they could. The Badgers, I think, lost the game more than Washington State won the game, but they did what they needed to do, score 17, and score more than Wisconsin. And with a little bad luck, the outcome was not good for Wisconsin. But that's how that went. Let's talk about this week's games. First off, let's talk about last week's record. Last week, I was 9-5 in my predictions for last week's game, including the one I didn't really voice, which we don't really want to talk about that. But this week, I'm certain that I will be more accurate. So let's just go down the Big Ten list of games. I'm not going to go into all the details. We're going to start off with the Wisconsin Badgers, just for fun. The Badgers are playing at home against New Mexico State at 2:30. Y'all know that already. The game's going to be on BTN, and the Badgers are a 37.5 point favorite, and I am predicting that they win and that they cover. We'll go into that detail a little bit more in a different segment about why I believe that's true. But let's go to the next game. Western Kentucky visiting Indiana. It's an 11 o'clock start Central Time. These are all Central Times because I'm in Central Time.
That one is also on BTN. Indiana favored by 6.5, and I say they cover and they win. University of Connecticut coming to play the Michigan Wolverines. Wolverines are a 47.5-point favorite at home, and at the Big House, I believe Michigan will win and will cover. Also at 11 o'clock, Purdue visits Syracuse. I don't have a point spread on that game. I predict Purdue will win. Purdue's pretty solid this year. At 11 o'clock, also, Oklahoma visits Nebraska. Oklahoma is favored by 11.5 points over Nebraska. Nebraska, of course, has a situation with their new coach. Their coach, Scott Frost, was fired this week. Right or wrong, that's what happened, and I believe Oklahoma is going to win that game, and I believe Oklahoma will cover. That one's on Fox. Purdue and Syracuse are on ESPN2, by the way. Also at 11 o'clock, Southern Illinois visits Northwestern. And again, I do not have a point spread on this one. It's on BTN, and I predict Northwestern will win. At 1 o'clock, Rutgers plays Temple. They are favored by 17.5 points. That's on ESPN Plus, and that's at 1 o'clock. And I predict Rutgers will win, but they will not cover. At 2:30 on CBS and Par Plus, whatever that is, Penn State visits Auburn. Woo, this could be a good one, huh? Auburn is getting 3 points at home, so Penn State is favored by 3 points to beat Auburn at Auburn, and I am predicting an upset. Auburn beats Penn State straight up, and of course covers with the points, so Penn State loses this week. At 2:30, Colorado plays Minnesota. Minnesota's on fire this year. They are playing at Minnesota. It's on ESPN2. The Gophers are favored by 27.5 points. I believe the Gophers will cover, and they will win against Colorado. Toledo at 6 p.m. The Toledo Rockets visit the Horseshoe and play Ohio State. Ohio State has got a lot of firepower, and they are favored by 32 points. It's going to be on Fox. It's a night game. The Rockets coming in to play at night just south. Now, maybe some of you know, I'm from Toledo. A lot of background with Toledo and a lot of other stuff for the Buckeyes. But I do predict Ohio State will win, but I do not believe they'll cover against the Rockets. The Rockets will give them a game because the Rockets give people a game. At 6 o'clock also, Southern Methodist University, SMU, plays Maryland at Maryland. They are Maryland is favored by 3.5 points. Again, the Terrapins have a good team this year, and I believe they will cover and they will win at home. That's on FS1. On the Big Ten Network at 6:30 also, the Nevada is visiting Iowa, and Iowa is favored by 23 points. That's on the BTN network. Now, I don't believe that Iowa can score 23 points. So while I do believe Iowa will win because they've got strong defense, I don't believe they'll cover. And the last game in the Big Ten this week is Michigan State at 6:30. Travels out to Washington. And despite the fact that Michigan State is ranked in the top 20, I believe, Washington is favored by 3 points. And that's going to be on ABC. It's going to be a big game. And I'm going to go with that. I believe Washington will win, and I believe Washington will cover. So those are my predictions this week. Right or wrong? I hope I'm right, especially about the first one. Let's check back next week and see how I did. Hopefully I'll get a little bit more higher percentage victories than in the past. But that's the Big Ten this week, and we're going to take a little break. When we come back, we'll talk about more Big Ten and especially Badger football.
Talk about this week's game. This week we play one of the worst teams in the country in New Mexico State. I mean, that's just the truth. They're battling back, and I would say that they've probably got a good future in front of them as they got a good coach. I respect Jerry Kill a lot. Most of you probably remember Jerry. He coached at Minnesota. I always want to spit when I say Minnesota, but I won't. And Jerry made Minnesota a contender. He made them a winner, and I suspect he's going to turn New Mexico State around too. But I don't think he's going to do it this year. Jerry's got a long career, and his offensive coordinator is a guy that he brought. He worked with years and years ago. He's kind of an old school guy, and I don't think that they're making the moves on offense as quickly as they would need to. But they've got some speed, they've got some talent, and they've got some decent coaches. They got a young guy coaching the defense, and there's some things to point out. Like on offense, they are ranked 130th out of 131 teams, and it's obviously offense is not rolling much. I don't think they've even averaged a touchdown per game, and they're 0-3 coming into the game with the Badgers, and hopefully be 0-4 afterwards. They're, I think, ranked number 68 in total defense, but that's a little misleading because a lot of the offenses they played it kind of took their foot off the gas, and otherwise they likely have a rougher number than that. So they're a very poor team this year. That's just the fact. But they are college football players. They want to win. They got good coaching, and we do not want to look past them. The strength of their team right now, I believe, is their front 6 or 7. I think they run a 4-2. So there's those guys up front. They're stopping the run to some extent. Minnesota, I think, averaged almost 6 yards a carry against them. Minnesota beat them 38-0. Wisconsin is favored by 37.5. So this game is not supposed to be close. But last week's game really wasn't supposed to be close either, and the Badgers lost. So the Badgers got to be ready. They got to be ready. Their quarterbacks, New Mexico State's quarterbacks, the Aggies quarterbacks, they don't really have a starting quarterback right now. Jerry Kill hasn't named one. He's got 2 guys to go in between. Both of them have thrown 3 interceptions. Neither one of them have completed more than 50% of their passes. So they're struggling mightily on every element of their offense. And I think the best thing they got going for themselves right now is low expectations, which means they can have high satisfaction if they do anything right. A good coach in Jerry Kill. I really respect Jerry, and I think that he's going to bring them around. Let's talk about Wisconsin. Let's talk about what we need to do to win this game. And I think that on offense, I want to address the offense because the offense was a big disappointment last week. Offensive line, they did some good things. There was some good play on the left side. The right side's looking rough, but they've got to get it right. This is a get right week, and this is an opportunity for the Badgers to straighten things out, play a good game this week. We need to focus on the running game first, and I think that is what we're going to see. I watched an interview with our offensive coordinator, Bobby Ingram. Really enjoyed watching Bobby and listen to his ideas. I think he's going to be super beneficial. I'd like to see Chris give him a little more latitude, a little more control of the offense. I don't know how much control he's getting, but that's just my gut instinct. Bobby, however, I think has a lot of the same ideas that Paul has, and that we need to run the ball. And I think against this team, especially coming off that last game, I believe that the Badgers do need to concentrate on that run game. Get Braylon Allen his 100 yards plus early, and then pull him out and save him, keep him healthy. And then I love to see Ches Malusi and Isaac Durendo pick up 50 apiece at least, and then pull them out and sit and save them. And then I think this could be the opportunity, a big opportunity, and we probably won't have another one that I see right now, because the Big Ten is going to be tough this year. Get Julius Davis in there and get him some real live game action, hopefully for the whole second half, or at least the fourth quarter, and get him a lot of carries and an opportunity to maybe get 50 himself. and get that offensive line, all of it, as many of the guys in there as you can, get them working together and gelling, and get them some confidence and gets them some rhythm worked up. You know, I'd also like to see him possibly introduce some play action passing, both because I think it's going to open up our offense, and also I think it would give Ohio State a little more that they've got to prepare against for the coming week. The Buckeyes have Toledo this week. I'm hoping that they're looking past Toledo at Wisconsin, and they get burned there in Columbus, and the Rockets come in and drop a big L on those guys. I always hope that for Wisconsin or for Ohio State every week, but I doubt that, and I'm praying that the Badgers are not looking past the Aggies thinking about the Buckeyes, but that coming up, I think you do have to think about, you got to get that stuff gelling, and we haven't seen enough play action to pull those linebackers off the run, because Washington State was just locking down on the line, pulling everybody in the box to stop that run, and consequently Braylon especially was having trouble getting free, and he's trying to make plays. He made a couple good ones that got called back for penalties. Still wound up almost with 100 yards. Pretty good game. I'd like to see those holes open up wider, and I think play action passing could do that. And that takes us to the passing game. And the first thing on the passing game that I want to say, with Graham Mertz, as much trouble as he got last year for having bad times, we got to give credit where credit's due. I think Graham looked like about the best player that we had on the field offensively, especially the last two games. He's done very well. Passed for over 200 yards. He's been accurate. He's been confident. He pulled the ball down and ran when he thought it made sense, and for the most part hasn't really made any bad decisions that I can think of. I mean, if you think of some bad decisions, you want to share them with me, send them to me, badgerandbama@gmail.com. I live in Alabama, by the way, folks, and almost all my clothes say Wisconsin on them. But that's it. badgerandbama@gmail.com. Send me your comments. Ask me for the roster. Send me any requests. And please subscribe. Well, I'm thinking of, please subscribe to our boy, I'm just completely messed up there. Please subscribe wherever you're watching this. YouTube, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. You can see I didn't practice a lot. I do another podcast called Flipping Genius, and this is our second episode of Armed Wisconsin Baby, and we'll iron out the kinks and get this thing rolling. But I do appreciate you watching, and I invite you to subscribe. And as we build this, there'll be more to it, and I'm going to try to deliver some, added benefits to you, like the roster PDF that I think all fans would like to have that. You can find it someplace, but we've got it. We'll send it to you for free. But Graham has done a great job. That's what I wanted to talk about. And our receivers look pretty good too. Nothing looks perfect yet, but we've seen some pretty good routes. They have dropped some balls. And all in all, I think our offensive passing game looks better than it did last year. But this game is an opportunity, I think, to build a running game, get some of the younger guys some experience, get Graham some experience. But I think this is the game to get Graham on the sidelines. We want him to get out there, get a nice lead, maybe 21, 28 points, something like that. Have a nice lead and pull him, maybe for the whole second half. Sit him and keep him healthy. That's what we need, to keep these guys healthy, because the Big Ten season is going to be tough, and we need to be ready when we hit it. And Graham needs to be on the sidelines watching, and we need to get Myles Burkett in there and get him some real game, real experience on the field. Myles is just a freshman. He's been put in the I think it's the number 3 spot, really, because Chase is I believe still injured. And if I'm wrong about that, I'm wrong. But let's get Myles in there and get him some live action. handing off some play action passing for him to take the people off of him and get some good passes, maybe get 10, 12 passes out and get him half dozen completions and maybe a score or two, and he'll be ready to play when he needs to play, because that, football's a rough game. Believe me, I got lots of wounds from back when I played, and it is a game that you can expect some injuries, so you've got to be ready. So I think that's what we do on offense. On defense, Jimmy Leonard's bunch. I mean, when you only give up 17 points, you should win the game. That's really the fact. They didn't do everything perfect last week, but they played a pretty good ball game against a pretty decent offense in Washington State. And I think the defense, Wisconsin's defense, I believe just needs to do what they do. And I think if they do what they do, they will shut these guys down. I think we'll see a goose egg on the other end. New Mexico State is not a team that you really have to worry about a lot. And as long as Wisconsin does their thing, I think that they can hold these guys to no points, a shutout, which is always a big thing. And I think I mentioned it last week. Jim Leonard's teams at Wisconsin, since he's been the defensive coordinator, 25% of the teams that we have played against have scored zero offensive touchdowns. So I look for that to happen, but 0 points. I really do think it'll happen. The main goal, though, I think with everybody on the defense too, is to stay healthy and maybe get a little bit more rhythm, especially in that defensive backfield. Those guys played pretty well last week, and maybe get a couple or maybe three turnovers, and like I said, hold those Aggies to 0 points. I think that'll be the goal. Get some young guys some reps and keep zero. That's the thing. And Jim Leonard's team defense, they play with that in mind. I guarantee you. I've not been in the locker room, but I guarantee you that is what they are looking for, a 0 on the board. At the end of the day, that is what they intend, and I believe that's what they'll get. And that takes us to special teams. Special teams. They were rough last week, and we've got to straighten some things out. Hopefully this week we get a ton of chances for our kickoff team to get down the field and get in position. I like to see the ball go through the end zone, but if it doesn't go through the end zone, we've got to make tackles. Or if it goes in the end zone and they bring it out, we got to drop them inside the 10 and make them pay. And that has got to happen. That's just got to happen. And hopefully no field goals. I don't want to jump on anybody. I mean, that's just the reality. I'm not a field goal kicker. I couldn't kick field goals, and those kicks were both not chip shots. We kind of think that they are because we see guys make them so automatic. The one I think was 51 yards, which is always a tough one for any college kicker. The other one seemed like it ought to be an easy one, but it wasn't easy. It wasn't close. But hopefully the Badgers will get that solved within the next couple of weeks. But we're probably not going to solve it this week. And we just want to make our extra points. And hopefully we're going to need to make 7 extra points. That's what I'm hoping. And we have 6, 7, 8 kickoffs. And I'd like to see them go through the end zone. And if they don't go through the end zone, stop them. And I hope their punting team I hope our punting team gets 0 opportunity this week. No punts is my goal. And I think that it must be the goal of the guys too. I feel really good about this game. I'm thankful, very thankful that Wisconsin has the New Mexico State Aggies coming to Camp Randall this week, and we're not going to play in the Horseshoe this week because we really need a get right week, and I think this is a week to get all things right. My main concern it would be is if we take these guys too lightly and look past them, and I know I say we, but that's how we talk, right? Fans. I mean, we love our Badgers. It's all up to them. We're just gonna be watching. I wish I could be back out there playing, but clearly, until they introduce a senior football league, this old boy, is not going to be able to play anymore. And even if I did, I don't know if I could get up after I got down. Uh, so when I say we, I mean them, and them are the Wisconsin Badgers. I believe that they'll win. They just need to not look past New Mexico State. I believe that New Mexico State has some talent. I know they have some coaching. They've got some good speed, and they've got to want to. There's no doubt about that. They believe that they can win, and we need to take that belief away early, and that's the key. That's something we haven't done the last 2 weeks. We need to take that belief away from these teams. We need to start fast. We need to start fast, and we need to dominate the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball, and we need to play smart, air-free ball. And I believe Wisconsin will do that. And when we come back next week and we talk about that upcoming game against those folks down there in Columbus, I believe that we'll be talking about a team that has 2 wins, unfortunately 1 loss, but we can't do anything about that. All we can do is do what we can with what we got to do with. And let's get a W, man. Let's get a W. I for those of you who are going to be there, make some noise, because I'm not going to be there. I got to be here because I got stuff to do here. I'm a busy old dude, and this is just one of my things I like to do, and I hope you enjoy it. Hey, send me an email and let me know what you think. Let me know if you think I'm crazy for even doing this, or if you're enjoying listening to me. If you'd like to talk to me sometime on the Zoom camera or something, I'd love to do it. We could do it on camera. If you got something you'd like to add to the program, let me know. It could be fun. I do a lot of Zoom meetings on my Flipping Genius podcast. Look for Flipping Genius. It's a lot of fun. We got 136 episodes just go to flippinggenius.com with 1G, flippinggenius.com. We'll probably build a website for On Wisconsin Baby. We'll probably do all kind of things. It takes time to do, but I wanted to get this out here so our fans could have another thing to listen to. There's a lot of other good podcasts. I've linked a couple of them to the man, I forgot it again, to the YouTube video page, because there's a couple that I really like that you'll want to check out, and I get a lot of information from them. And if you guys from those other podcasts want to come on my podcast, you're more than welcome. I love talking about the Badgers with real Badger fans. It's a lot of fun. Believe me, there's not a lot of us down here in Alabama. Respect Coach Saban and Alabama's football program immensely, but I've been a Badger fan since I was a little boy, and that's why I'm here. Hey, have a great week on Wisconsin, baby.